To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for The Gateway Meet. Written and directed by Rhonda Caro, The Gateway Meet stars all of these lot. The Gateway Meet is a disturbing and sadistic film that strays far from the normal conventions of the horror genre. It's about a group of Satanists living in a quaint coastal fishing town. As the film progresses, we get to know the character played by De Caro himself, Marcus. The film is mainly about how Marcus struggles as he tries to deal with the great expectations that are placed on him after his father's death. Marcus's father, who was a Satanist, was trying to open up a portal into hell. Now that he is gone, Marcus must take the reins and gain the power that his father wanted. With the help of his family and a couple of friends, Marcus murders his way to power as his young preschool-aged daughter watches. This is going to be a fun one. The Gateway Meet is a film that I hadn't heard of until really recently. First on the disturbing movies iceberg, shouts to Wendigoon, Safe G, and then when the filmmaker Rhonda Caro himself commented on one of my videos. Looking into it, the film has a reputation of being as extraordinarily violent as it is poorly made, and on that promise I had to see it, and I am glad that I did. 15 minutes in, I realised that this was something special, something truly brilliant, transcending traditional cinematic values and creating a piece of art that is almost beyond words, beyond the realms of human understanding. A blood-soaked acid trip into the depths of depravity. Face-f*** your brain into submission and freeing it of any semblance of sanity as images of indescribable horror tear through you, leaving behind a crusty husk barely resembling human remains. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I think this might be my favourite thing I've ever reviewed. You are not f***ing ready. There is no hope, there is no God, there is only The Gateway Meet. The film begins with a content warning that reads, "This film contains adult themes and is not recommended for younger or sensitive viewers. This film contains graphic violence, gore, self-mutilation, adult language, drug and alcohol use, nudity, prolonged graphic sex sequences, and strong themes of religious and political satire. The views expressed in this film do not necessarily reflect those of the filmmakers." I should hope not. We then get a nice bit of world building info setting the scene. Welcome to the present, where the love generation reigns supreme. Their ideals of peace and love mostly forgotten in a sea of cell phones and iPods. Pleasantly distracted from the horrors of our world, we carry on in ignorance. Late in 2006, the President of the United States was assassinated by a religious extremist. The country carried on with life as usual, the American way. But in a quaint coastal fishing town, a small group of Satan-worshipping family people saw his passing as a sign. Cut to various shots of a room completely soaked in gore. Cut to these butterflies as a little girl asks her dad why there's so many. Her father explains that this is where they scattered her grandfather's ashes. She says she misses grandpa, and her father tells her that he does too, but he's in a better place now.
I miss Grandpa.
I do too, honey. But he's in a better place now.
Cut to this house and then inside, where we see flashes of days gone by. Cut to the little girl entering her parents' bedroom and waking them up. Cut to her dad taking her to the park, and then to this brother waking up. He then crushes a shard of glass into his morning coffee. YouTube then has a taste, giving himself a bloody nose.
Yeah.
That must be some really good coffee. Don't you agree, person manually reviewing this video? Cut to the dad and the kid at the park, and then back to big boy Roland wondering what stinks. He asks his partner if it's her and then pulls back the cover, finding her in a bit of a mess.
Whoa. Shit, that stinks. Too bad. We're having fun, weren't we?
Lovely. Cut to this guy riding his bike. And then this happens.
I hurt my head again. This fire going out of my knees.
What the f is What's going on here already? What's happening? Cut to Roland looking for prey on MySpace. We see the blood-soaked bed as he whispers to himself that she's in for a treat. Cut to this random shot of someone hitchhiking and then to Barto and Sophia painting. It's now that we come to understand that Barto is, how do you say it? In this day and age, what is the politically correct term to use? I don't know. I guess I'll just say that he'd be able to tell you what the windows taste like. He talks to Sophia about Apollo Creed with some light racism and asks her which one she likes better.
Who do you like better?
That one.
That one. Thanks.
Cut to Marcus and Lizzie.
I appreciate everything you've been doing with every friend out there.
Whoa! Hey, Lizzie! Come on, man. We're trying to keep this respectful, yeah? Don't be such a cunt. She tells him she'll be needing help cleaning up downstairs and then they go to check on the kids.
Apollo Creed.
Wow.
He's a bad man from Rocky.
Ooh, the bad guy.
He's what my grandpa calls a
Oh.
Jesus Christ. Okay, moving on. Barto then murders the cat and Marcus doesn't seem that fussed. Cut to more bike riding, which almost feels like a deleted scene from It's Always Sunny. Cut to Marcus fixing some holes in the wall as Sophia rides her bike. She asks to paint and her father offers to have her paint with something other than paint. She then goes to the next room to find a couple of bloody corpses. I like that editing choice. Some of the cuts in this film are actually really quite good. Marcus continues to mend a wall that looks finished to me as we cut back to Sophia having a grand old time. They get her to say this.
You
And then she tastes some of the blood. It's also clear from the shot compositions that Sophia was never in the same room as all the gore, which is a good thing. Cut to Roland grabbing a bottle of liquor and then heading to the cash register. There he's approached by this guy who shares his condolences for the loss of the old man. Roland says thanks and then suddenly decides that he hasn't got to pay for the booze and leaves. The clerk gives chase and catches him outside.
All right, it's cool.
Back in there.
No, dude, peace.
Let's go.
Take care.
Asshole.
Cut to a fish tank. Okay. Cut to Lizzie washing her hands in a blood-soaked sink as on the floor we see remains of their cat. Cut to Roland at the door. He's greeted by Lizzie who tells him Marcus is upstairs. The men shake hands and go to the kitchen to drink. And we get another good/weird edit.
Well, you know I'm kind of a germaphobe, so...
They toast and tell jokes as we flash back to the old man chatting into a radio and being shouted at for taking up the frequency. We cut around his little den of madness as he screams it's his frequency and starts to break down. We also see a crucified skeleton hanging upside down. It's pretty metal. He seemingly finds the frequency he's after and starts laughing as we cut back to Marcus and Ronald. Enter Lizzie, who says she's tidied up the dead cat and confirms to us that this was something Marcus wanted.
You know what he can do. That's just the gateway meat, honey.
He said it! He has plans for Barto, and so Ronald tells Marcus to bring him over tomorrow as he has some new things to show him. Fleshy, screamy, blood-filled things. Marcus and Lizzie Eskimo kiss. Aww. And we cut to Marcus thinking about moving to his pop's former residence. While he'll miss the murder and suicide his own house has seen, he welcomes the history and power of his father's home.
I'm not sure I'm ready for this power yet, but it looks like I have no choice. I miss you, Pops. I'll be moving home soon.
He passes out and we get a flashback to what I can only assume is Marcus's first murder, given the ridiculous f***ing wig situation, man. Good lord. Vexed that his girlfriend has cheated on him, Marcus attacks and stabs her right in the f***ing eye with a butcher knife over and over. Now that is a really, really awesome effect. The way her mouth is still moving as he twists that blade around in her mush. F***ing savage times, man. Marcus then eats a razor blade as we cut back to present day with Sophia joining her sleeping father for a cuddle. We see more flashes of the flowers from the opening and boats behind them. Perhaps preparing for their own voyage to Agatis. Go watch that video, will ya, please? Didn't do very well. That's the last time that I cover something that doesn't have at least 14 murders in it. In another surprisingly effective edit, we get this.
Hey!
Cut to an exterior of Marcus's house and then back inside as Sophia continues to play. She tells her father she loves him as we cut to this awesome jack-o'-lantern. And then to this guy watching an adult video. No way. I remember that video. I saw that shit when I was a kid. What a blast from the past, eh? Look at him, wearing her like a f***ing hat. Sophia, Marcus and Barto turn up and are given this super warm welcome. They enter to the tune of women screaming and knock on another door, which opens as we cut to Roland beating someone to death. Marcus pushes Barto in and closes the door. Cut to Barto falling apart as Roland screams at him.
Get the f*** up. Get a good look, goddammit.
You know, I'm starting to think this Roland guy's a bit of a pr***. We see his victim looking all kinds of f***ed up with some more very good gore effects, and then cut back to Marcus and Sophia. He pops her down and then heads in to join the fun. Inside, he finds another victim taped to a chair. They scream until Roland knocks him out with a hammer, and then they talk about Barto. Roland says, "You're telling me he can rip portals?" And that apparently is why Marcus wants him in the group. Roland says he'll believe it when he sees it, and we get some more shots of the gore on display. He then makes the victim ingest whatever this is, and Barto freaks out. Blood then starts running out of the straw.
See what you get for hitchhiking, asshole.
Oh, okay. Marcus laughs, Sophia laughs, and Roland asks to see some of the portal ripping. Marcus says that he can't get Barto to do it on command, saying it only works in his father's basement. Roland says he's got to take him over there to see that shit, and Barto gets up close with the coffin lady. Roland deals with the matter as Sophia pushes the door open.
It's alright, honey. Come on in. Don't tell Mama, though, okay?
Cut to Sophia drawing on a blackboard. An image that I'm sure represents mother and father, heaven and earth, rivers of blood, the perpetuity of misery in one's own existence. Something like that. She says what it is, but all I'm hearing is I'm drawing Grandpa's neck. See if you can do any better.
I'm drawing Grandpa's neck.
Answers in the comments. Cut to the harbour and some birds, and then back to the house as we see the finished drawing. This now a bit more obvious in the meaning. Cut again to the harbour and again back to Sophia playing. She asks her dad why they need to move, and he tells her it's the way it has to be. She then says this.
Let's kill lots of people, Daddy.
Questionable parenting, but who am I to judge? I ate mine. She tells her father she loves him again and continues to play as Marcus ugly cries into a mirror. Cut to the old man's house as Marcus sits looking into the trees and then heads into the basement. We hear that signal from earlier and then cut inside to see all the carnage. We then cut to an image of your mum's butthole. A little bit of behind the scenes trivia, that's one of the few shots in the film that didn't actually require any sort of special effects. Just natural talent. Cut back to Roland as Marcus knocks on his bedroom door and lets him in to find another victim. Roland says he picked her up at a train station, and Marcus says that he can use the condo, just no blood. We then see that the woman's spine is exposed. It's hard to see because they amp up the distortion when switching to the video camera just to differentiate between the shots. But even so, really, my biggest question is how this woman is moving around as much as she is. Surely an exposed spine is going to cause you some sort of mobility issues, you know? Marcus then asks if he can borrow it, and Roland agrees. He then does what you think he's going to do.
Whip it out, smack her in the face with your cock a few times.
In my opinion, this is a missed opportunity. He 100% should have fucked the spine hole. Do you agree? Answers in the comments. Cut to this lippy with his friends. This scene is just a guy verbally abusing a room full of friends. He's blatantly freestyling the whole thing, and it's super f***ing grating. But there is something about him that kind of reminds me of Brandon from Jackass.
Get the f*** out of my house, you little f***. Go get your booze, you f***ing alcoholic. Get out of my house! Get out of my f***ing house!
Roland then enters. Oh, thank God. He goes after the lippy for money owed, and when he doesn't have it, he kills his mate Steve and hammers Lippy in the spine until he can't feel his legs. And we get some real top tier acting from this guy.
My leg! Shit! I can't move my leg! I can't move anything! What the f*** is wrong with you? What the f*** is wrong with you?
Cut to Lippy tied up. Roland starts cutting his chest with a razor and beats a corpse to double death. Cut to the old man's basement where we find Barto trapped and screaming. Cut upstairs where we hear in voiceover that Marcus is keeping him down there and starving him in hopes of getting some sort of portal action. Sophia and the mother enter and they talk about moving and the brother downstairs not showing any results. And after all of that talk of opening a portal to hell, she says this.
Hey, let everyone, let's get some pizza and hang out.
Even servants of Satan need pizza. Then we cut to Roland entering the room with the body in the bed.
Well, if he's gonna lie there, you might as well make yourself useful here.
This this line made me laugh so much that I had to pause the film. Ever since he killed that brother in the basement, I'm really coming round to Roland. We then get more fun editing as he eats a sandwich and watches TV before offering her some. He then licks the rancid blood from her back and picks up a hollow point. Cut to the screaming Bartow in the basement and then back to the cashier from earlier who Roland deletes.
Huh? Do you remember me?
Cut to a bar where Roland fucks about and has a drink. Cut to Marcus receiving his takeout pizza. He tells the delivery guy to come in as he needs to sort out the money. And... well... Marcus kicks the shit out of Bartow, screaming, "Where's my portal?" as the levels on this portal to hell detector start to perk up. Marcus then forces Bartow to deeply slash this guy's throat. He then pulls the guy's tongue out through his neck hole. Bartow screams no as we cut to another cameo from Your Mum and then to Marcus sometime later. He looks at a picture of George Bush, which he kisses, saying he'll never forget the day he was blessed, then bells Roland, leaving a message. He drinks from his kid's cup as we see flashes of the old man screaming he knows it's true. Cut to Marcus driving and then arriving at the condo. He enters and finds a super dead lady hooked up to jumper cables in the kitchen. He then goes to the bathroom to find Roland somehow even deader than the kitchen lady. A jumper cable still attached to his blackened, leaking dick. Next to him is a whole bunch of shit, but most importantly, a note that reads, "Thanks for the house, have fun with the girl, I did." We see what I assume is a flashback to Roland's last moments with the gory chess pieces moving themselves. Marcus then goes upstairs and finds two more victims strapped together. One of them seems to still be alive, and then we cut to Marcus drinking as a baby cries. The old man's ghost appears, cussing Marcus for being drunk on the floor. The strapped up women do a little dance, and then Marcus goes back downstairs to find the kitchen empty and his bottle refilled. Well, only one thing to do then. He falls down and passes out again when some Christian missionaries come and knock on the door. Marcus gets up and sees the corpse is now back again. They have a whole scene with the Christians trying to spread the word, but this all ends with Marcus attacking this guy with a shoe and then getting tased by the woman. They try to run, but then we awkwardly cut to the woman dead and Marcus dragging the man into the now clean bathroom. He dumps him in, and again we awkwardly cut to later where his now wife, girlfriend, whatever, is murdering the Christian woman, who I thought was already dead, but whatever. She pulls out her eye, squishes it, pulls out her guts, and then they bang! Cut back to the old man's where Marcus drinks and draws for the gun before heading with his little family down to the basement. There they find Bartow, who's begging for them to let him go. Marcus then helps Sophia shoot him in the head, spraying blood on his painting.
Bye-bye, Bartow.
Ooh, you got him. Good job, sweetie.
She shoots him again, and Marcus goes to pick up this gnarly meat cleaver, but just as he heads to presumably kill his family, this happens. The end! Well, this has to be the best, worst movie that I've ever covered for this channel. That was ridiculous. If you're a fan of extreme horror, The Gateway Meat will likely seem familiar, if only because of how terribly executed 90% of the film is. Almost everything is beyond bad here, with awful camera work, sound, writing, acting, editing, and everything else in between. But in the midst of all of this, in this sea of what the are a small selection of moments that I think deliver surprise greatness. The obvious thumbs up here is the gore. They go hard in this one. Biting off tongues, ripping people open, that leaky burnt penis at the end. Good lord, it's impressive. It seems like the filmmaker spent his entire budget on the makeup artist, and the film is all the better for it. Without that gore, I don't think I could have made it to the end, honestly. There were some gore gags in this film that genuinely made me cringe, and if your movie can do that, you're onto a winner. There's also a couple of edits that I really like, just because of how weird and unsettling they were, but it's a question of whether or not those moments were achieved on purpose. As they say, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and it is possible that some of those bits that I like are kind of accidental. The only thing that makes me think that is just how awful the rest of the editing is. Sometimes scenes just end, petering out and then cutting to some other bullshit with little to no understanding of dramatic tension. There's a lot of, oh, I guess that scene's over throughout, and it's pretty hilarious. Looking at the story, Marcus's dad is using a radio to try and open a portal to hell. He succeeds, or maybe nearly does, but then dies, so Marcus finds Barto, who apparently has the power to open portals but can't control it, although we never see him do it, even by accident. Why does Marcus know that Barto can do this? Has he done it before? He says at one point in the film that he can only do it in the basement. So has he been to the basement before? How did Marcus find Barto? He thinks if he puts him in his dad's basement, Barto will be able to open the portal, and so he gives it a go, but it doesn't work. He then gets his kid to kill Barto and is about to kill his family when a portal opens and we see the daughter has inherited the power. Sound about right? Also, what's the benefit of opening the portal? Will the world end? What happens next? We'll never know. There's also a B plot with Roland rocking around and killing people until he kills himself. Completely unnecessary, but gory good fun nonetheless. I guess the story is fine, but the delivery and structure of the narrative is hilariously off, with certain scenes acting as nothing more than detours to fill time. The worst of these is the Christian missionary scene. I couldn't believe how close we were to the end and still wasting time. The whole scene is disconnected from the climax and just serves to make sure the film crosses the 1 hour mark. There's also the fact that this is apparently the third entry in a trilogy with 2 short films preceding it. I do wonder if some of my questions would be answered if I watched those first 2 shorts, but given the storytelling skill level involved, I don't think that would be the case. And if it is, I'll never know. I think this movie is just about enough for me, thanks. Again, the film is shockingly bad, but at the same time features gore that outclasses much higher productions, and so I can only congratulate the filmmaker for that. I really enjoyed The Gateway Meet. Not in the way that it was intended to be enjoyed, but I f***ing did. If you love gore, bad acting, weird editing, and just real vicious shit, I highly recommend The Gateway Meet. So that was my review for The Gateway Meet. What do you lot think? I think there's definitely some talent in there with the filmmaker, and also you've got to rate him for being able to pull the whole production together. I couldn't do that, at least not at the moment, so yeah man, ratings and respect. And that gore was f***ing dope, seriously. Now if you want to see all of that wonderful, wonderful gore, and it is f***ing wonderful, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you'll be able to see the fully uncut version of this video plus others with other shit coming soon. I'm going to be filming a Patreon exclusive Q&A. There's already been some questions posted, some great ones, and I really can't wait to get into that. But yeah, for as little as $1 a month, you can gain access to all of that good stuff plus more coming soon, so just go and do it. Special shout out to patron Heroin Christ 2.1 just because your name made me laugh. But in the meantime, thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and I'm off to go and have a taste of your mum's gateway meat.